Welcome to the TK Show with the Athletic Bay Area's Editor-in-Chief, Tim Kawakami.
Hey everybody, Tim Kawakami here, TK Show, recording from the palatial Kawakami Studios in the Kawakami Estates. We're in the Kawakami gated community. Good to have you here, and great to have on as my guest, my friend. You know him well. I think he does 15 hours of television a day on the slow days. What was it? Well, I don't know what yesterday was, but I kept seeing you on the television. He's NBC Sports Bay Area anchor, man about town. I costumed character at times. Ahmed Fareed. Ahmed, how you doing? How many hours was it for you yesterday?
So we try to go as long as the games now. So if the games go 3 hours, we try to go 3 hours. And you're right. The costumes are. It's part of filling the time. I was like, if you're going to give us this time, we're going to need costumes. So that's what they did.
So you basically an hour pregame and an hour postgame, or is it more than that?
Yeah. Yep. Oh, that's what it is. Hour pregame, hour postgame. Started that last year, which was a real rough year to try to do that with a 98 loss team. Yes. But so this is our second year of doing hour pre, hour post, and we've kind of gotten into a nice little rhythm with it. It's kind of funny because we're in a time when, attention spans reportedly going down and down and down, but here we go and expand our pregame show, expand our postgame show. And we found kind of a nice healthy balance of, breaking down the game. You can't do that for a whole hour. You break down the game, you look around baseball, you have a little fun and just try to mix it all together and hope that it comes out to an hour in the end.
You did some LeBron stuff. Was I wrong when I was flipping that on? I know I saw you chatting up with Ray Ratto, I think.
We did, yeah, we did. After since I was there, we got done with our post-game show, and John Giacomo, one of our executive producers,
Giacomo, don't let him decide anything.
He comes over and he goes, "Hey, Ahmed, what are you doing?" And like 10 minutes after the show, after Giants post-game, I go, "I'm going to go home to my family," and he goes, "Not quite yet." So yeah, we did just an impromptu. LeBron James 4-year, $154 million Sports in Essentials special, which kind of was cool, Tim, because it was kind of like a throwback to the old days when we used to have you on and talk about whatever. And we don't get a chance, or I don't get a chance to do that often anymore. So actually, I enjoyed it. I go, you know what? My family can wait, John. I'll do the show, and then I'll go after that.
Listen, Ratto and Monty Poole and James Ham are just more important to me at this moment.
Yeah, exactly. At least for today, one time. Now they're off to today. No more. It's all family time.
Okay, now. Good. I hope so. Well, let's just talk a little about the Giants. You mentioned last season, and this is a different feel to this. I mean, I don't know. You can tell me where you think this is going. But are you a little surprised that this is, 4 games over 500 or 5 games over 500? It's been a nice run here, and not with a lot of the superstars. It's been Derek Rodriguez and Alan Hansen and Gorkis Hernandez. Yeah. What would you highlight about what's happened so far, and where do you think this is headed?
Yeah, I am a little surprised. Coming into the year, I think a lot of us thought, hey, this could be a 500 team, and 500 teams sometimes get a little bit of a hot streak and win 86, 87 games, and then who knows? You're a second wild card team. So I wouldn't have been surprised if they were a wild card team. But I will tell you, in the beginning of the year, I was talking with Alex Pavlovich, our insider, and I go, there's one thing I know for sure. There's one thing guaranteed. If they don't get all-star performances from Bum, Cueto, and Samardzija, they're just not going to be able to compete. Yep. And I'm completely wrong on that so far, that they're still in it 2.5 games back, and that those guys really haven't been a part of the plan. So I think of all things, I think the offense is better, and I think that makes a more entertaining game, and that's more fun to watch on our side. And I think their offense has taken a big step forward. But for me, I am shocked that they've been able to stay in it, and not only stay in it, but do well with the Derek Rodriguez. Who's throwing 95, Tim, and got a good curveball, and Andy Suarez, who's got pinpoint control and got one of the best strikeout to walk ratios in all of baseball. So, yeah, that's what surprises me about this team. But it's in a good way, because I think those young, exciting players is exactly what this Giants team needed after what they had last year.
So what do you think they do when Samardzija and Cueto get back? I assume Cueto goes back in, obviously, but Samardzija seems like a different kind of question. I mean, do you automatically throw him back in there because he's making $18 million, or do you think about some other options?
Right. Yeah, I think he's back in. He's back in whenever he's ready. Now, the Giants already have pushed him back one more.
Yep.
You know, they gave him one more rehab start. We'll give him one more rehab start than he was going to get previously, and that does have everything to do with the fact that, you know, he gave up a couple home runs in that one in Albuquerque, but that Suarez and Rodriguez and Stratton and Holland are all pitching pretty well. So, you know, I think Samardzija goes back. You know, we're not that far removed from last year, 200 innings and one of the best, you know, strikeout totals in baseball, and didn't walk anybody, and probably got hurt more by the outfield defense than anyone on that staff, just because he is a fly ball pitcher. So, I mean, he was a not only good pitcher last year, but a pretty healthy above average pitcher last year for most of the season. So we're not that far removed from that Jeff Samardzija, but I do think that this time, coming back with what they have seen from some of the younger guys, if we're 4 starts into it and Jeff just doesn't seem right, I think they are going to make some tough decisions. And perhaps here's a year where, hey, you didn't have a healthy spring, you were unhealthy in April, and maybe we just put you in the bullpen this year and try again next year and see if we can get through the season that way. So I do think the leash is shorter for Jeff Samardzija, but I would be surprised if he didn't get, you know, a good month's worth of starts when he does come back.
I think that the general consensus of this run has kind of made sure that they probably won't be sellers at the deadline. We know they hate to be sellers. Would you say that? And what happens going, you know, you got Bumgarner coming up on some contractual issues here.
Yeah.
Where are they just going to be the Giants and ride it out? Or would you think maybe at some point they're going to start having to look like a modern team that starts, you know, dropping down the salaries before they really have to, like, you know, they're looking at free agencies from the big guys who they can't keep.
Right. You know, coming into this year, I think you could have made a really good argument that the Giants were making the wrong decision by trying to make one more run at it. I mean, 98 lost teams just don't all of a sudden, you normally turn around and compete for a playoff spot. But I got to give them credit because they spent the money as much as they could up to the tax. They made some moves. They took on some long-term contracts that may not look real good in a couple of years with Evan Longoria types, just to go for it for one more time. And I think you can't debate the fact that this year is a whole lot better than it would have been if they had just decided to do a total rebuild, and you're looking at an Orioles situation or Royals situation where you're lucky to win 50 games. So they went for it knowing full well that the chances weren't great, but they were going to spend as much money as they could up to the tax and try to make one more run at it. And they've done that, and it's gone well. So I don't think they're going to be sellers at the deadline for sure. I think they're going to just go for it because even if they drop down to 500, they're just going to say, you know what, let's ride it out. We've gone this far. Let's continue to ride it out. I don't think they're going to be major buyers either. And the Bumgarner question is just fascinating because I think there was a scenario where if they started this year, Tim, and they were, you know, 20, 25 games below 500 at this point, I would almost think you'd be forced into a Madison Bumgarner trade because any acquiring team would get him for this postseason. Next postseason, you'd get an arm and a leg for him. And I don't think that it's a slam dunk that the Giants, even right now, re-sign him or if he wants to come back. You know, I haven't heard a ton on the Madison Bumgarner front, but I don't think he's totally opposed to the idea of, at this point, going into free agency. He's been underpaid for pretty much his entire career and seeing what he can get from a team out there. Who knows? Maybe he wants to go to Atlanta, be closer to home. So I don't think it's a slam dunk that they can get a deal done to bring him back. And so at some point you think, okay, what can we get for him? But they're in it right now. I think they're going to try to be in it next year. I think they went under the tax this year so they can blow through it next year and try to buy their way out of any rebuild that they might have to do. So I think they keep them. I think they keep spending, and I think they keep going for it.
Today's episode of the TK Show is brought to you by Hims. 66% of men lose their hair by age 35. Some of you Warriors fans probably have a joke about this regarding the newest Los Angeles Laker, but it's not funny when it happens to you. The thing is, when you start to notice hair loss, it's too late. And why do guys turn to weird solutions or even worse, do nothing when they can turn to medicine and science? We have a solution for you. forhims.com, a one-stop shop for hair loss, skincare, and sexual wellness for men. Thanks to science, baldness can be optional. Hims connects you with real doctors and medical-grade solutions to treat hair loss. All you got to do is answer a few quick questions A doctor reviews them, and they can prescribe you products that are shipped directly to your door. Order now, and TK Show listeners get a trial month of Hims for just $5 today, right now, while supplies last. See website for full details. This would cost hundreds of dollars if you went to the doctor or a pharmacy. So, go to forhims.com/TK. That's forhims.com/TK. Again, that's forhims.com/TK. And now, back to the TK Show.
All right, you're an MLB guy. You got the sources. Let's skip ahead to next year. Why not?
Yeah.
They went under the tax for you said a very specific reason. They're going to spend some money, or their plan is to spend some money next season. Is it Bryce Harper? Who's the guy you think they're going to circle and say this is the guy who could change who we are?
I do think they make a serious run at Bryce. And he's had an interesting year because, there's no doubt he's still one of the top superstars in the game. He's got so much power, the power potential. You do see him every other year. It seems like he bats 230 or 240 and has a tough time putting the ball in play in long stretches. But I think without a doubt, they make a run at him. And it is interesting. If you do the social media stalking, which I've known to do from time to time, whenever Bryce Harper comes to San Francisco, it is glowing endorsements about the city. And if you check his Instagram, he's talking about how beautiful. He might say that about every city. I doubt he's saying that about Cincinnati. Nothing against Cincinnati, but he does seem to enjoy his time here. He's had some success here, had a home run in the playoffs here, and so I don't think the ballpark, even though lefties it does crush, I don't think it would hurt him all that much. So I do definitely think they'll make a run there, because you look at outfield, even though they have some more options now, with the Austin Slaters, the Steven Duggars down there, Chris Shaw's eventually. I think they'd still like to put a superstar out there in the outfield. So I think that's a definite. They're going to make a run for Bryce Harper. I'm kind of intrigued by Machado because I don't. Word is he wants to play shortstop. If that's what he's got his mind set on, then that's not going to happen, obviously, because Brandon Crawford is perhaps their best player for the Giants this year, and he'll be the shortstop for them for at least the next, I would say, 3 years. So that's a non-starter if he wants to play short. But if he's okay with playing third, I think the Giants could get creative. They'd have to move Longoria. They would have to move it, but I think they're willing. I think they're willing to eat some money. I've thought all along that they're going to try to buy their way out of this rebuild. They're not going to do a rebuild because they're just going to keep spending money, which I think they can do, and buy their way out of it. So they could get creative. They could send along, kind of like they did with Denard Span. You send Denard Span and a top prospect to get Longoria. I think you can move some money around, send a prospect so a team that's rebuilding could have incentive to take on a bad contract and see if you can make it work. So I think there's going to be things they can do, and I don't think the financial obligations and financial limits will be applied to them this year like they have this past year.
Well, they get Harper, they'd have that great attraction of Hunter Strickland there because, Bryce would love it. Well, what do you think of, again, I threw it out there. I knew people would get mad. They always get mad. This hot run of the Giants has started exactly after Hunter Strickland broke his hand and is been out. I'm not saying they're better without Hunter Strickland, but I'm saying they're winning without Hunter Strickland. What do you think that I know Affeldt loves him and other guys and who are in that clubhouse really like him, and I'm not, I think Posey's good with him. There's, he's not unpopular in the clubhouse.
Right.
I don't think he's good for the team, though. I'll just put it out there. I don't think he's good for the team. Where do you come down on this?
I have a hard time getting a sense just because I'm not in the clubhouse. I talked to Alex about it, and he seems to think that there have been times where he's perhaps rubbed teammates the wrong way, but for the most part, he's a guy that goes to work every day and does care a lot. And I think that's where a lot of the outbursts come from, is that he cares so much and he has a hard time dealing with the failure of the game. And it boils over into some of the events that we've seen with the Harpers and the Brinson that happened earlier this year. So, from people, it's funny. I was walking around the stadium just like a couple weeks ago, and an usher came up to me and was like, "Hey, can I tell you something real quick?" And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "I don't know why I'm telling you this, but I saw what happened to Hunter Strickland." And I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, and it just really bums me out because he always has struck me as a really nice guy. And he says, I walk around down in the hallways, players walk by, and he's like, some players don't make eye contact, some do. He's like, you can just tell. And he's like, Hunter Strickland always makes sure to like look at me, say hi. He just seems like a really nice guy. And I was like, yeah, all my interactions with him have been good as well. So it's unfortunate that what we all see on the field, a couple incidents have tarnished what we think of Hunter Strickland. But I think for the most part, he's okay. He's okay in the clubhouse. He's okay with the media. It's just a few things on the field that have soured us all on Hunter. So, yeah, they've won without him for sure, but I think that might be despite the fact that he's gone, not because of it.
That was a good answer. You answered a lot of things there. Hey, let me just give you, if you don't mind, you got a lot of pre- and post-game analysts that you work with. You got a cavalcade of them. I'm going to throw a few names. I'm going to probably forget one or two. And just, give me a quick summary, like what hits you when I say their name, if you don't mind doing that.
Sure.
Let's go Tim Flannery.
Yeah, Tim Flannery has probably got the most energy of all our guys, and he comes bringing it. And I don't think there's anyone that we have that breaks down the game and likes to break down the game and the events on the field as much as Tim. And I think last year it was kind of hard for him and us because there were a lot of games where you got to the post-game show, you didn't need to break down the stuff that happened on the field. And that's really Tim's specialty. And so I think this year it's been great that he's been able to break down a play and a rundown and a cutoff. And he just does that as well as anyone.
How's he with the metric stuff? I know sometimes you guys kind of joke about it, but does he listen to it? The conversation?
Yeah, no, he does not like that. He does not like it at all. He does not enjoy the metrics, but he's open to hearing it, but at the same time, there's a lot of things, and he's right. There's a lot of things that are not measurable that have a huge impact on the game day to day, and reasons why you might do something even though the numbers say don't do it. You're dealing with personality, so I get it. I get where Tim's coming from, and I think that back and forth and that balance for both of us is really good.
Javi Lopez.
Javi's smooth. He's smooth operator, and he's just really thoughtful. He doesn't ever want to say anything that's a cliche. He puts a lot of thought into everything he says, and he can break down the pitching, and he can just break down a team dynamic, and he's really curious too, because he's curious. He came in and here's Javi Lopez, 4 World Series rings, and the first day he comes in, he's just asking questions about me, about the show, about TV, about how we operate. So he's just come in really, really curious and prepared, which is probably not a shock to anybody.
Jeremy Affeldt.
I haven't worked with Jeremy that much the last couple of years because he's just been on the
games,
the pregame or on the game side, on the game side. But the couple of times I have worked with Jeremy in the past, he's just fun. He's just got the fun energy, which I think is perfect for a studio environment, because you have the studio is more for the personalities. You call a game, that might just be more the stats, and you just want a smooth voice. But when you're looking at someone sitting in studio, you want that energy. And I think Jeremy does a real good job with that.
And I might give you a few more that haven't been doing it for a while, but Rich Aurelia?
Rich, yep, he's there. I think Rich is great, because I think he was great last year, and last year was really good for him because Rich is prepared to bring the negative if you have to, and just talk about, be real with everything. And I think that's what Rich does really well, is that even when it's going well, and even there's been times where it's going well this year and we're all riding high, Rich will be like, well, hold on, take a look at this. And I think that's really important, as because it's easy to, especially when you're owned 33% by the Giants, to think that you have to just toe the company line all the time. But Rich doesn't. And, I give the Giants a lot of credit, because I've never heard anything. I've never gotten any feedback back from the Giants like, hey, don't talk about that, don't mention this. So I feel like with Rich, he's really fair, and he is not afraid to give it a little bit to the Giants.
Well, so the team should want interesting shows. I've always believed that. Now, some teams don't, clearly, but it's better for them to have interesting shows. I really do believe that.
And ultimately, we're saying, we're not, the fans are, the true fans of the teams are going to be as harsh as anybody on them. We got tweets last year and comments last year that during that run that we don't sugarcoat it. We don't want you to sugarcoat it. And sometimes I'd respond, well, if I don't a little bit, it's going to be a really sad show for the entire year. We're going to be pretty depressed the whole show. But I mean, it's just be honest, be real. And I think fans and the Giants appreciate that.
I'll throw one more at you. Sean Estes.
Sean Estes. Sean is, I don't think don't think anyone that I've seen or have, like, pitch by pitch in the studio. He is just studying the pitches, the pitching sequence. He's asking me all the time because I've got the baseball savant up. He goes, "How many curveballs have they thrown this game?" And I'm like, 32. And he's like, "That's 5% more than he threw last game." That's interesting. And he really is. I mean, pitch by pitch, he is breaking it down. And Sean, I've really enjoyed. Sean and my personalities are pretty similar. We don't take each other too seriously, but we want to be really, really well prepared. And I think Sean does a great job of that.
All right. I probably forgot 7 or 8 of people you have in there regularly. It's hard for me to keep track of all of them.
Bill Askey.
Bill Askey. There you go.
Back there. Yeah. Bill's back, and he's the longest tenured analyst. And so he brings a lot of, and with Tim, Bill and Tim both, kind of remind us whippersnappers of what the game was like before and some of the names that have been around the game for a long, long time. And so I think that's a healthy add to the show as well.
Let me ask you, again, you worked at MLB Network. You know a lot of the figures. The people do bring up the marketing is certainly less than you see for the NBA for sure. LeBron changes teams, and you have to interrupt a Yankees-Boston game to report it. You just have to. And any player that leaves in the NBA, it's a big deal throughout the offseason. You just don't have that in baseball as much. You just don't have it. And Mike Trout is possibly the greatest player since Willie Mays, possibly. And I don't know that a lot of people who aren't huge baseball fans, do you see a marketing deficit here? And what can they do to make sure Mookie Betts, incredible player. There's incredible players out there that I don't know that people outside of their home markets know them very well.
Yeah, I mean, for Trout, I think it hurts that, he's played 3 playoff games his entire career. That hasn't helped him. I don't really think – I think some of it's the personalities, and I think baseball kind of has a personality. Obviously, we've seen keep your head down, don't make it about yourself, and if you do, you're going to get hit with a beanball, and so I think that carries to off the field as well. It's just kind of the culture of baseball is not to bring attention to yourself. So I think that hurts a little bit from a marketing standpoint. But I think, a big part of it is the design of the game. And it's funny, I've debated this the last few days with Javi and Tim and even Ray Ratto in the studio, and everyone hates it, but it's just a serious kind of thought experiment on, would baseball be better? Would it be more marketable if you had a lineup that was 1 through 6, just 1 through 6, and Mike Trout, instead of batting 4 times a game, is batting 7, maybe even 8 times per game? I do really think that's part of it, is that, you could go, an hour without seeing Mike Trout bat, maybe even longer. So, I do think some of it's just the design of the game, an everyday game, and the fact that your best player hits as much as your 9th best player, and you might never make a big play in the field. And so I think that is as much to do it as, the efforts of Major League Baseball to get them on TV and off the field. It's just the design of the game.
Yep. I mean, and again, sometimes it didn't feel like that during the Yankees' greatness or wherever. But it felt like Bonds was coming up all the time. But you're right. It's a different era. Attention spans are shorter. And when you're watching a Warriors game, Steph Curry's going to be in there for 38 minutes, and you're going to know Steph Curry's in there for 38 minutes. Yeah, I mean,
you're seeing every 30 seconds, every time down the court, if he's not shooting, he's passing, he's around the ball, and so I do think they talk about all the dramatic changes with baseball. I wonder if they would ever consider something dramatic like that, just to have your best players be involved in because it's all about the game product, right? I mean, the major thing, the most eyeballs are on the game product. And so if there's a way to design the game where your main players, your main attractions are on the TV and participating more, I mean, then you get into the whole pushback that baseball has got this tradition. It's got history and nostalgia, and which makes baseball what it is. It is the sport that hasn't changed throughout time and is the same game for the most part. We like to believe as it was 50 years ago. So I don't know. Baseball's got some interesting questions, some serious questions to think about in the next 5-10 years if they want to be that sport that is just what it was back in the day. But Tim, I'd argue that it's already not. The game is not the way.
By the way, it's integrated now, and it wasn't 60 years ago. So there's a lot of different things that have happened.
Exactly. So it's interesting. I'd like to see baseball become a little more progressive with the change, and I think every time that the commissioner brings something up about that, he gets a lot of blowback. So I don't know if it can happen.
Who knows? Well, listen, I'm going to have to. We can go on and on, but I gotta ask you the question I ask everybody, or else we are gonna go like a Giants pregame show. I'll get Flannery on and start drawing up some plays here. Ahmed Fareed, what's your favorite restaurant?
Okay, so this was the hard time last time I was on, which thank you, Tim, for having me back.
Oh my goodness,
too,
yeah,
by the way.
I can't believe that. We pulled that one off somehow. We forgot about that first show.
I didn't hurt your numbers bad enough to come back. So I think I asked for barbecue joints, and I got a lot of suggestions from your fans and from your listeners. So I appreciate that. I'm a big chicken guy, chicken sandwich guy. So right now we have 2 kids, 4 and 2, and so our number one restaurant, we live out in the East Bay, is the Walnut Creek Chick-fil-A. So that would be my number one. You can see me playing at the my kids playing at the Walnut Creek Chick-fil-A. I'm usually in there as well, so I guess you can throw me in there too.
You're chasing them around. I'm chasing
them around as well. So honestly, Tim, we're not foodies, so that is really where we spend a lot of our time.
Have you ever gone to Chick-fil-A with Alex Pavlovich, who is a huge Chick-fil-A guy, as I recall?
You know what? No, I haven't. And the fact that there's like only 1 or 2 around the whole area, I mean, like people at work beg me all the time to bring it in. I go, it'll be cold by the time I get in. They go, we don't care. Just bring it in. So there's my plug to Chick-fil-A.
Man, line up the advertisement here. Jeez,
I know.
You don't do the great commercials on NBC Sports Bay Area anymore, by the way. But I know that's not your decision. Start doing some Chick-fil-A stuff. There you go.
Absolutely. That's what I'm trying to do right here. I would be more than happy to do that if you're listening.
I get 4% cut. All right, everybody. Great to have on Ahmed, and this is the first time you've been on with me since I've met the Athletic. So we'll count this as
you're right.
The real,
first one.
The real reset. Thank you very much. Great to have you on, and let's do this again.
Yeah, sounds good, Tim. Appreciate it.
Everybody, thanks a lot. That's the show for today. Thanks.